What's up, friends? Eli here. Back for a collection video. Just one of the old collection videos, not an update or anything. I haven't done one for a long time, good while anyways, and I've been wanting to get back into it. That was actually the reason I started this channel, basically, is to do collection videos. Just wanted to show my collection, and you get, distracted doing other stuff. But yeah, it's cool to get back into it. I should be in bed, to be honest with you, but I don't know. I just felt like in a rare mood where I actually felt like making a video. Not that I don't, normally feel like it, but I don't know. I guess I still have a lot of energy. I started a new job not too long ago, and I got to work. I got to start work at 2 a.m. So it fucking blows. So yeah, I'll probably only get about 4 hours of sleep tonight, but it's one of those nights where you just don't give a fuck, But, so anyways, what we're listening to, if you can actually hear it in the background, I don't have it turned up real loud. I think it'd be really distracting for a video. I didn't really plan it. I was just already listening to it when this started, but I don't know if there's anyone out there that knows how to pronounce any of the Black Legion's bands, but yeah, I certainly don't. They need to make like a dictionary just for the Black Legion's shit, but for you Black Legions fans, that's what I'm listening to. It's just a bootleg, as is 99% of all the Black Legion's material. This is basically like I don't know what you'd call it, just like a dark ambient, I guess, but there are instruments in there at times. It's just basically nightmarish, terrifying music. It's not metal. It's not black metal or metal of any sort, but if you know your Black Legion stuff, I'm preaching to the choir here. But anyways, check it out if you're not familiar. If you've never heard any of the Black Legion stuff, that wouldn't be a good place to start. But if you're a black metal fan and you're into dark ambient and stuff like that, then you might be able to dig it. Oh, and by the way, I got this Pissgrave shirt in the mail today. Pretty cool. I actually kind of just randomly got in touch with a couple dudes from the band, and one of them sent this to me. So really happy to have it. Not to brag, but it's kind of a funny story. But this is actually a design that was printed for their one of their European tours. So I wouldn't assume that many Americans have this exact shirt. It was actually designed by one of the dudes from Undergang, the where are they from? Denmark, Danish death metal band. He's also in Frenolith and Hyperdontia, so pretty fucking cool. But anyways, we'll get on to the shit here. 10 CDs, just like I've always done. And we'll start off with Sweden's Defleshed with Fast Forward. This came out in 2000 on the mighty Pavement Music. Yeah, man, I like Defleshed. I've heard most of their stuff, if not all of it. This is probably one of my favorite albums of theirs. Can't go wrong with their debut, but I've always really been partial to this one. Like I said, they're from Sweden. They're a death metal band. I guess you could say maybe like a death thrash band. They're very fast. They're like almost all their tunes are just breakneck speed. It's melodic. It's definitely not standard death metal, and they don't sound like they've got a pretty unique sound. I'd say they don't sound like any of the other Swedish bands. I was trying to think of a band, one of the other Swedish bands, from the 90s and early 2000s I could compare them to, but really they're pretty unique. They don't sound like even one of the more melodic, one of the bands with melodic tendencies, like say At the Gates. They don't even sound like At the Gates. They have their own sound. They're very musical. Lots of riffs, lots of guitar solos. A lot of double bass drumming. They're fast as fuck. Good band. I wish I had more of their stuff, but this is the only album of theirs I have, which maybe I'll fix that someday. Next, this man, I'll have a good time talking about this one. This is actually one of my favorite thrash metal albums of all time, and the catch is, it came out. God, when the fuck did it come out? It came out in like the early 2000s, which is funny because I don't really like. I could probably count on one hand, maybe two, for the the thrash albums and just thrash bands in general that I like that came out after like probably 1989 or 90. I just modern thrash just does not do it for me. Even when it's dudes trying to, play the old, playing an old school style, it just for me it just does not fucking work. And but this is one that does. So we have Decapitator, the calm before the storm before the calm. This came out on Relapse Records. Like I said, early 2000s. I can't really remember exactly when it came out, but I've had it since it came out. The reason I bought it is because it's full of like Exhumed members, most notably Matt Harvey, and the rest of the guys are either they're like current and even at this point ex-Exhumed, and I can't remember exactly. Besides Harvey, I can't remember who they are exactly. I'd have to look into it. I don't want to be any more boring than I already am. But anyways, if I had to describe it, it definitely sounds like I would say Bay Area thrash. Exodus. There's definitely strong Exodus vibes. But at the same time, it has the whole point of this band was to basically worship that era of thrash. So, originality might not be key, but at the same time, this album stands on its own. It's got its own riffs. It's got its own, arrangements. It does not sound like a carbon copy of Exodus, like I said a minute ago. It's just fucking great. Matt Harvey's on vocals and guitars. He doesn't, he's using a different vocal style than he does in Exhumed. It's he's not using a death metal vocal style. He's using a thrash metal vocal style. I just think this album is fantastic. It's probably, I might have already said this, but it's probably in my top, I don't know if it would crack my top 10 of all time, but top 15 or 20. I just love this album. Pick it up if you can. They only have 2 full lengths. This is the second of the 2. I think it's way better than the first one personally. And they have some splits and stuff like that. I actually talked to Matt Harvey. I don't know if I showed you the inside. It's got cool artwork. I talked to Matt Harvey briefly one time on Facebook. It had been a while. It had been more than 5 years ago, but I asked him if he was going to continue Decapitator, and he said he really wants to. So I think it'll happen eventually. I really hope. I really fucking hope. To be honest, I really liked that last Exhumed record, but I would not mind if he put, even if he had to put Exhumed on hold to make another Decapitator album, which that's probably not going to happen. Exhumed is his full-time job basically, but man, I would prefer to hear another Decapitator album than another Exhumed album personally. But let me know what you guys think of this one. If anyone's heard it, if any old school thrash fans are out there, and I sent a copy of this to Pat, Ground Zero Salem, and I forgot to ask him. I forgot to follow up on that. I forgot to ask if he liked it, but I'm betting he did. I put money on it, so I could ramble on about that album all day. I don't know if it's just me that loves it so much. There's got to be others. I think it's fucking awesome. And while we're talking about thrash, whenever I talk about thrash, I'm always eventually, sooner than later, I'm going to bring up Demolition Hammer. Because I fucking love this band. Sadly, I only have this album. I don't have their second album. I don't think their third album was worth getting, but the first 2 are absolute classics of their time. So this is Tortured Existence. It's not an original copy. It is a re-release. Came out initially in 1990. I'm bad with timelines sometimes. That I didn't know this came out in 90. Yeah, I guess that sounds about right. Anyway, came out in 1990 on Century Media Records. This is a 2006 re-release on Phono Ltd, licensed from Century Media. Don't know what Phono Ltd is, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I absolutely love this band and this album. Did I show that? Yeah, same thing as the cover. But anyways, Demolition Hammer. God damn, where were they from? You guys might have to help me on this one. Somewhere in the Midwest, I think. Fuck me. But they were a thrash metal band that came in later, obviously. This came out in 1990. I really loved that era of thrash. Early 90s, early to to kind of just the barely tip of the mid '90s. In my opinion, that was the last good run of thrash metal. And what I liked about it is it wasn't just bands trying to, to revive the early '80s stuff. It was bands doing their own thing, but they were bringing a death metal influence. They were taking like that Mora sound, particularly that Florida death metal sound, into their thrash metal. So I guess you could call it death thrash, but for me, that was death metal's last hope. Other bands, like, of course, whenever you hear Demolition Hammer, you're going to hear people talk about Morbid Saint. You're going to hear people talk about what was that band? Not Destructor, but you know what I mean. Band from Texas. Love that band as well. They had that album Idolatry. I'm fucking terrible with, especially when I put myself on the spot. Starts with a D, definitely. Not Destructor, but not Desecrator. I'm fucking dumb. But anyways, if you like death metal, and maybe if you're a younger fan and you haven't heard Demolition Hammer, if you like death metal, definitely get this. Even if you're not a huge thrash guy or girl, I have fans that are not into thrash at all, really, and at least pure thrash, and they can rock out to Demolition Hammer. So this album, it's a mandatory classic. You need it in your life. All the older fans, I'm wasting my time talking about this here because they've all heard it, probably even way earlier than I did. So yeah, absolutely great stuff. Moving on to the next one, we have Demonoid, which with March of the Norse. We all know who Demonoid is. One of the founding members of Immortal. It was him and Abbott. Started Immortal. This is a solo album, obviously. This came out in 2011. He'd been in Immortal still at that time. Obviously, he never really left Immortal. If you don't know the history, he developed tendonitis in, I don't know if it's in one arm or both arms, but developed really fucking bad tendonitis. Couldn't play guitar, or at least he couldn't play the type of guitar that Immortal needed. He couldn't play fast and stuff. I don't know what's going on with him now, because obviously, he played guitar on the newest Immortal album, so I don't know if he... I don't know how tendonitis works. I don't know if it lessens over time if you take care of yourself. But anyways, he didn't play guitar on any Immortal albums for a long, long time. He stayed a member. He wrote lyrics, is what he did. He wrote lyrics, but he could not play guitar anymore. I can't remember the exact year that he left. But anyways, this is his one and only solo album, and it's really good. It definitely has an Immortal sound to it, because he's such a big part of Immortal. That would be almost unavoidable. But there's also like an old school Bathory sound on here that makes this album so strong. I haven't heard it in a long time. What I always thought was funny about Immortal members who would start like side projects is it would always be like one dude, who started it, and then he'd like flesh out the rest of the band with Immortal members. And this album was in that time where they used to do that. It was always fucking hilarious, but cool. I pulled the booklet out because I wanted to remember who else was in the band. Demonoid, vocals, guitars, and bass. Ice Dale from Enslaved on guitars. Shit, I take that back. Fuck me again. Demonoid just did vocals on this album, so this was when his arms were real fucked up, and I guess he didn't even play any guitar on this. Ice Dale from Enslaved played guitar and bass, and Armageddon played drums. Armageddon was Immortal's original drummer. I take it they all just stayed friends, because Armageddon, he played on this album, and he also played on the I album, which was a side project of Immortal with a bunch of Immortal dudes. It was like Abbott, Ice Dale, Armageddon, and one other guy. Not sure. I think one other guy. But anyways, it's a pretty good album. I didn't know quite what to do with it when it first came out. I think it was kind of a grower, but it's good. You know, if you like Immortal, if you like Bathory, who the fuck doesn't? Now we have, yeah, this is a great one. Another band where, god damn, I wish I had more of their stuff, but Demonci with Faustian Dawn, which was their, I think it was their debut demo. It was an early demo, either way. This this is a re-release on Nuclear War Now. Can't remember when it came out. I want to say there are bonus tracks on this. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, I think there are definitely some bonus tracks. So, real cool artwork that they used. It's not the original artwork, though, if you want to take a look. Their original artwork for the demo was done by Chris Moyen, and it would be that. So, Demonci are a U.S. black metal band, and I've said this shit in the past. I say it all the time, man. Most U.S. black metal bands just don't fucking do it for me. They just don't. There's just always something, not always, but a lot of the time there's just something that does not fucking work. But this band is a definite exception. If I were to pick 5 U.S. black metal bands, you know, they'd be in that 5, absolutely. Band members there. So yeah, they would kind of change their sound a little bit later on in their you know, career. But early on, man, they were just an evil as fuck, raw, kind of minimalistic, I would say. You know, just evil as fuck, raw black metal. Amazing stuff too. I mean, if you're a black metal fan and you haven't heard this, I basically just recommend this to all of you. They're a classic band. This is classic material. I don't think they ever did anything bad. They did have one album that came out. It was like their second, I want to say it was their second full length, second or third, where it was a little bit more technical and a little bit more melodic, and they kind of got shit on for it. But honestly, I thought it was a pretty good album. But personally, I think everything they've done is, you can't go wrong with any of it. So if you like black metal and you haven't heard Demonci, you're obviously missing out. So you need to get it. Next we have Demonoid from Sweden. I always thought that artwork was kind of cool. I know the glare, you can't really see it, but this came out on Nuclear Blast in 2004. What this was, it was... Well, this is cool too. I don't really remember this picture, but check that out. What this was a band started by one of the guitarists from Therion. Therion were playing more, you know, operatic, you know, power metal type stuff, and he wanted to play some death metal because it'd been a while. And so yeah, he recruited some other dudes and started this band. And so it's basically, I really like the layout in this, by the way. I don't honestly think I've ever really gone through it, but it's if I were to, you know, if I were to categorize it, you know, the sound, it's death metal with a lot of thrash influence and even a lot of like you know, traditional heavy metal influences. It's very unique sounding. I mean, you know, there's not a whole lot that I can really compare it to make it easy, but good stuff, man. Lots of riffs, lots of solos. The songs are kind of epic. It's a cool album. I can't remember if there are any other albums. I want to say this is the only one that they ever did, but it's cool, man. Lots of fast playing. It's you know, good use of melody. Good album. I recommend it. Next we have something that I haven't really spent a lot of time with, to be honest. This is DAmato Manc from Italy with Rites of Barbaric Demons. This is their debut EP. Came out on Nuclear War Now some years back. Maybe 10 years ago, probably a little less than that. Did I show that? They are a Black Death, you know, band. Maybe you could probably put them in that, you know, the war metal category. But I always thought that, you know, the reason I bought this, I don't have a lot of the, you know, the war metal type stuff in my collection, but I thought they did a pretty good job with the sound. But to be honest, I just don't really remember too much what they sound like, because I mean, I bought this a couple years back, but I think I gave it one listen, and yeah, That's just not enough for me to go off. But to be kind of generic, if you like Black Witchery, stuff like that, I think you'd like it too. All right, I got a couple left. Here's another one I haven't heard in a long time, and I really want to listen to it now that I see it. But we got Demons and Wizards. I believe this is their second album. I don't think it's their first. They have 2 albums. I'm pretty sure this is their second. This came out in '99 on Steam Hammer. And Demons and Wizards basically was a band formed by Hansi Kirsch, vocalist of Blind Guardian, and John Schaefer, guitarist and founding member of Iced Earth. So that should kind of give you a fairly good example of what it's probably going to sound like. It's power metal, it's epic power metal. Who else is in this band? It's not just those 2. Sorry about the barking. Hansi and John. All right, we have Jim Morris on lead guitar. Jim Morris was a longtime Iced Earth guitarist, and Mark Prater on drums. Also Iced Earth, extra Iced Earth at this point. But yeah, man, epic power metal. I haven't heard it in so long, and to be honest, I never really did spend a whole lot of time with this album. And I have some friends that are massive fans of this, so I really need to. It's one of those albums that's been on my list for years and years to spend more time with. And I've probably had this album for 15 years, and I think I've listened to it once or twice. And not because I didn't like it, it just kind of got lost in the fray. But I think I'll listen to it tonight. Yeah, so that's kind of what's another reason I like doing these videos, is because I come across shit that's in my collection that I've been meaning to listen to for a long time and haven't got around. This band album actually I was talking about in my last video. I couldn't remember the name of it, but at least I think that's what happened. But we got Denial of God with Death and the Beyond. That glare is killing me, man. It's very dark shaded artwork, so you can't. It's hard to see anyways. But anyways, if you haven't heard Denial of God, they're fairly popular. I would say over the last couple years. They are a Danish black metal band. They got a pretty unique sound. I think they combine like old school black metal, like maybe Mortuary Drape, and they give it some. I would say they kind of have influences from like that, kind of like the old Italian doom metal. Not that they're a doom band, but I really think that they kind of add some of that type of, occult atmosphere in their music, and I would say it really works. This is their most recent full-length album, and it's been a while by now. I want to say it came out in like 2015 or something like that, but yeah, I really like this album. Personally, I think it's their best work. Their early stuff is great too, but I think this is where they really nailed, that sound, that kind of sound that they had been striving for. I think they really nailed it on this album. I feel like they could still maybe do a little better, but nonetheless, I was really pleased with this album, and I've listened to it quite a few times. Well, it's been a while at this point, but all right. Last but not least, last but least out of all these, I hate to say it too. This was the debut EP from a couple years back by Denner Sherman with Satan's Tomb. Came out on Metal Blade, 2013? Shit. It was that long ago. 2013, I think it might say 2015. I think it was 2015. But anyways, obviously, you know who Denner and Sherman are. Hank Sherman and Michael Denner, original guitarists from Merciful Fate. Possibly the best guitar duo in all of metal. That's that would just be an opinion, but yeah, essential parts of Merciful Fate. Being without either one of those guys to me is just really weird, which is, I kind of say that because they are doing a reunion, and Michael Denner, was it Denner or Sherman? I want to say it was Michael Denner who wasn't, who's not going to be a part of the reunion. So I think that's kind of strange. But anyways, Other than those two, we have Sean Peck on vocals. He's an American singer. He's been in a whole bunch of power metal bands and stuff. He's a talented singer, but I'm not really into his style. He's one of those power metal singers who just spends pretty much all his time, doing like soaring falsettos and stuff like that, and not in the way that King Diamond did, but he's always just, I don't know, he screams too much. There's something about the guy that I don't know. I've always been kind of put off by him. Like I said, he's a talented singer, but I think they could have got somebody maybe a little more fitting. So anyways, we also have Snowy Shaw, ex Merciful Fate, ex Therion on drums, and Mark Grabowski on bass. I know Mark Grabowski. I can't remember what else he's done. But anyways, I don't know, man. I liked the single that I heard before this came out. I thought it was pretty good, but by the time I got this and gave it a couple listens, there's just something missing. It's just kind of underwhelming. The guitars, Sherman and Denner's, their signature guitar work is all over this thing, and that's nice to hear. It's a little refreshing for that matter, but as a whole, judging it by the complete product, it's lacking. I don't know, it's lacking. I think I'm not the only one that feels that way. They put out a full length a couple of years after this, and I actually have it, but that'll be in the next collection video that I show. So, yeah, I don't remember, to be honest, I don't remember anyone that was just absolutely enthralled with this, and even the full length after that. I mean, I don't hate it. I think it's decent music, and I do listen to it from time to time, but yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of underwhelmed every time I do it. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, or about any of those that I just talked about. So let's get talking about those, and that's all I got for the night. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.